Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into AFTERBUZZ TV's Spotlight On series. Today we have two very special guests, Tommy Dewey and Tug Coker, talking all about their self-created, executive-produced Go 90 series, Now We're Talking. We'll be talking about it soon. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
And there's the thong song. Has there ever been a more perfect song selection for this show?
There's not.
I don't think so.
A perfect song for life. A metaphor for life, really.
Yes. Guys, I'm Jeff Graham. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Good lights.
We're so thrilled to have Tommy Dewey and Tug Coker in studio, but before you guys introduce yourselves, I want to let you guys know you can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. I've got my amazing co-hosts here today, Abby Vega.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Abby Vega.
Guys, where can they find you?
At all the places at Tommy Dewey Says.
Except Facebook.
Except Facebook.
Yeah, except Facebook.
Don't do Facebook.
Twitter, Instagram, Tommy Dewey Says.
And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Tug Coker.
Perfect.
At Tug Coker.
Super boring.
Well, we can't thank you guys enough for coming in today. Abby and I just binged the whole series.
We did.
I want to watch it again because it was this was really good. Like,
Really
I think
good.
we expected it to be good, but like, I think both of us finished it and we're like, wow, this was really good.
We had some belly laughs with
good.
each other.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was telling them, for those who don't know, these guys executive produced and created a series.
Not a lot of people are going to know this, so this is really important.
Yeah, well, hopefully they will soon. I think this is the kind of culty show that I could see really gaining a lot of traction. The show's called Now We're Talking, guys, and for those of you who are a fan of a show like The League or even like a 30 Rock, it's a very fast-paced sports comedy about two former quarterbacks who are entering the world of sports broadcasting. And I want to talk to you guys all about what we just saw, because we just watched the whole thing. It's only about an hour and a half commitment if you want to go and watch it, which was another thing we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The thing I want to talk about first, though, is the two of you are really the foundation of the series. It's your chemistry that I think really drove the comedy and the narrative and what we saw. How did you guys like meet? Like, this feels like something kind of special, and I want to hear about it.
Test groups.
Yeah, we were eating pop chips across the table from one another, and we
And Red Vines.
we both really like the cheddar. No, Tug and I have been friends for a long time.
Okay.
You know, you live on the west side of Los Angeles. He's from Virginia. I'm from Alabama, so there was an instant kinship when we met. But I knew his work. He knew mine, I think. You just sort of ignored
Unfamiliar.
mine. I knew yours.
I saw your Grey's guest spot. Amazing.
Yeah, so did Abby. She tweeted about it.
So good.
And, you know, it got to the point where we just wanted to scheme to work together.
Nice.
So the whatever chemistry you see on scene is on screen is kind of our natural banter outside of work. And, you know, it's the Wild West out there. And if you've got an idea, you can find a way to get it out there. It's a good time for content creators, I think.
Absolutely. We were talking about
Yeah.
it's inspiring for people who are a little newer in our career like us, because to see, you know, working professionals kind of using the same model that a lot of, you know, young creators are pursuing is pretty inspiring. Had you guys developed this idea before you started thinking about pitching it? Or I'm interested in kind of how you decided on the idea, and then did you develop it first and then pitch it first then develop it? How did the process kind of evolve?
Interrupt me whenever, Tug.
So anyway,
Yeah, take him.
Yeah. We met at a taco shop. This is where it all started. It was a Tuesday. It was
Which one?
Really sunny.
Oscars.
Oscars on Rose on the west side in Venice. But we
Look forward to my free dinner tonight, Oscars.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Plug for us.
But we came and met with some ideas, and they both kind of circled around the same thing. It was sort of a broadcasting sports world. It's something we hadn't seen before. And I told Tommy I had this idea one time of doing a documentary, because I think about athletes who leave a sport, and try to get into broadcasting. I just find it fascinating to see why some people end up at ESPN, some people end up on Fox, some people end up on local radio or whatever, cable. And I just thought that journey would be super interesting. And so we also discovered these schools that take place with these athletes. They go to like Syracuse for like weeks at a time to learn about the idea of broadcasting. So
I just read an article about Jerome Bettis working with an opera coach to hone his on-air voice. So it was like fate was leading us there. We had both we were both interested in sports adjacent material because, and we talked when I first came in today. We've seen enough sports movies and sports that we didn't want to see sports being played. That gets really boring really quick. It also, cleaves your audience in half because there's just a segment of the population that's not going to care. But everybody can get into this idea of what this school might look like. Everybody's been to school.
Right.
And transition, we talked about a lot, is like the idea of people coming to a point in their life and like, I'm not happy. What do I do now? And so some of the characters, my character, conveniently named Tug Tanner and Tommy Arundel. I mean, we wrote the thing, so we get to name them whatever we want. But this idea that he played professional sports, but he wasn't that good. And he felt like he didn't ever rise to his potential. And he sees this as a second chance to really be the best of all time. And I think people can relate to that. Like, I'm not happy at this job. I really want to do this.
Yeah.
So there's a fun way in for the
The
audience.
thematic cornerstone throughout was if you've seen the mountaintop at 35, literally your job is to go out and perform for 80,000 people every Sunday. And then you literally cannot do that job anymore after your late 30s at best. As Favre made it to 40.
Yeah.
In football, especially, careers end so quickly.
Right.
They're
Then
like
what do
3
you do?
years.
Yeah.
Can you even find fulfillment going forward? Is anything satisfying from that point going forward? Obviously, it's a comedy, and we want it to be fun and funny and fast-paced, but we did want it to have some resonance and have a thematic underpinning.
And Abby and I are big fans of The Voice, and if you think about Billy, he was a young country singer, and then he come on, wake up!
This is actually very relevant.
This is really important,
this
right?
connects to the
audience.
conversation.
Think about this story of Billy Gilman, is that his last
Yes.
name? Where he, was a young country star, and then his voice changed. So he in some ways had to go through a transition as well.
did.
It's a very universal story. The story
Oh, it's
that we're
that
telling.
Billy Gilman? That was the kid?
Yes.
Oh my God!
I never put it together.
See, there we go.
That
Got
Billy
Tommy back
Gilman.
in.
Back to our show. Come on.
Well, it's so great, and it's something important that doesn't get explored super often is this industry, because you can tie sports into entertainment because that's kind of what sports are, is a different kind of entertainment, but it's such a fickle industry, and people are sometimes, I think there's not enough art and content that's exploring the after, and especially in sports, where do you go? I mean, who you were, your brand, your identity was the sport you played, and inevitably that ends. So it was so much fun to watch the journey into something so uncomfortable for these two guys
Yeah.
with an ego,
Well, Tommy talks about this all the time. Like these guys, and we think of them as the bottom of the barrel in the NFL. This isn't Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe, and it's like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
But the preseason,
it's like-
though, had some pretty good.
I was
Yeah.
one of the best of all time in the
He
preseason.
was one of the better
Right.
preseason players.
So don't underplay your characters.
Yeah.
But they still, even though if you're on,
Tug is better against a third-string defense than almost any quarterback in history.
it's true. And even if the people are on terrible teams, you still have everything handed to you. You still get your food catered. Massages whenever you want. So they have all these things handed to them, and then when they retire, it's like, how do we live? And we joke that we buy milk, but they don't even know what the price of milk is. They don't know where to shop.
Yeah, they throw a party in that second episode and are completely clueless as to how one throws a house party because,
There was
never had to do it.
a nice little arc of you just trying to figure out how to make a cocktail.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just terrible cocktails.
The series is so great. It's such a, I think, smart way, especially if you're going for comedy, to try to put yourself in a self-deprecating position. Is that kind of a fun environment for you guys to work in, would you say?
I've just always loved the guy that is whose confidence is misplaced, or unearned confidence, as they call it. He might have, business being confident as a quarterback, but in the broadcasting world, he's terrible. I mean, there's no reason for him to be that cocky, but he can't help himself, and that's just inherently comedic, I think.
Super funny to watch, to bring in all the athletes. Not to name drop some of the guys we had in there.
Oh, please do. That was one of our favorite parts.
Yeah.
I'd say the great thing for you guys to know is that Abby and I aren't necessarily huge sports fans, but we still got it, and we still had so much fun. The series really is for everyone.
Yeah, that's great.
But for super fans of sports, talk about who you got to.
Yeah, we
pop in
got
the
some great athletes to come in. We got Plaxico Burress to come in, who played for the Giants, and Arian Foster, who just recently retired from the Texans and the Dolphins. We got Mercedes Lewis, Martavis Bryant,
You see these guys and you wonder how
Lance Briggs,
anyone would ever tackle them.
Sean Merriman,
Sean Merriman was a key part of
Kurt
it.
Menefee, who you see on Fox NFL Sundays, who was awesome. And all these guys were so much fun because we took them off their field, so to speak, and they came in. They still had the attitude of a player. We want to be good.
Yeah.
So they were off book. they knew their lines. When they messed up, I remember Kurt Menefee one time. I had messed up a previous take, and he was like, he messed up. And he's like, it's okay because you just messed up. So I'm like, thanks, Kurt.
Yeah.
When you guys were creating the show, was like that a big part of it that you wanted to happen, to have these cameos from professional athletes?
We knew we wanted. I think it was part of the pitch that that would be a possibility if we ended up with the right partners. And a shout out to our partners on this, which is LeBron James's entertainment company, Spring Hill, and Uninterrupted is actually, we're part of the Uninterrupted branch, which is their kind of new media branch. Cool. But LeBron James, his business partner and longtime friend Mav Carter. Once that became a component, we were like, yeah, let's stitch that into the world we're creating. I mean, it was designed to work either way, but man, did we luck out. I mean, I think it helps us blur the lines of fantasy and reality in this really neat way.
Were you guys geeking out on set to have all these professional athletes working with you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say to those guys. I mean, Tug is like cooler. Tug played basketball in college.
I'm just big.
Yeah.
It's really, it felt like we could relate in that way.
Right.
Yeah, throw you the ball, just put it in.
You're over 6'3". We'll talk to you.
They're awesome. And then we talked a lot about we had to improvise sometimes too. And one of our favorites is Sean Merriman, who's in the very first episode, and he just came with a bunch of ideas. I mean, just like maybe I'm a figure skater. I'm like, you're yourself. You're yourself. Okay?
There's another hour and a half of material, which is just Sean Merriman going on.
Pitching.
Yeah, we love the energy, and it was just fun for us to be a part of that world because as you said earlier, like this transition and the next part of life is something that athletes think about all the time. Even musicians or whatever. Even like the people. Tommy's a big Olympic fan, so like you think about
Olympics.
like
me too.
you think about the bronze. I think the bronze did it as a movie, but like these gymnasts who are superstars at 16.
16.
And then now what? So
Yeah.
I think these guys were excited to come tell that part of the story too. So that's fun.
Yeah, the broadcasting element was really, really fun because I felt like you guys kind of had the chance to poke fun at the industry of sports broadcasting. Was that a goal? Like even with, the promos of you guys catching a basketball. And like, I feel like there was kind of an element of satire there. Is that something you'd say you were?
100%.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think it's this medium, this sports broadcasting, and broadcasting in general, is just so ripe for satire. That we really enjoyed. Like, we love certain things. If you ever watch a broadcast, whether it's a live broadcast of sports or something else, like these on-air ads. Like we make fun of like Red Lobster, like these guys having to like they call it down.
By the way, before we move on, I want to tell you guys this program is brought to you by...
Yeah, exactly. And so we just love that these guys just talk about a great play in the game, and then transition to like an ad for Mike and Molly later that night.
Which they clearly have never seen.
We have to do. Well, it was fun. That was the part that was pretty fun for us because we do interviews here and we host some shows, and hosting is a funny game because it's like you're kind of yourself, but you're sort of playing a heightened version.
You have to I was laughing at when you guys were doing the high school football game, and you guys are saying things that I said as like a fan of sports, because I don't know like the statistics of sports, but I like watching them. And when I see something just like awful, I know it's awful. But that's not what the announcers say. The announcers do like statistics. I'm like, what are they talking about? Well, so that was like believable. I don't know.
Well, there's so many silly things that are like, is this actually helpful to conveying the information that needs to be conveyed, or is it just some old trope where you're imitating the announcers that came before you?
Right.
Like catching a basketball and then talking is silly and stupid and unnecessary. But it's Ahmad Rashad, I feel like, used to do it for every sport, especially did.
Plus, we also live in a world of hot takes. I mean, you all see this in sports, or you see this in like when you're watching some sort of performance show on TV, like Twitter,
like The Voice.
Like The Voice. Twitter, America's Got Talent, whatever. The Twitter blows up. Twitter blows up for these things to give you their hottest opinion.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the fun is seeing these broadcasters live in a world now where like everything they say is being scrutinized and analyzed. So like sometimes you want to say like the coolest thing and you have a gaffe, which I have many. Like, just be ready to go home to Twitter and get just toasted.
right.
It's pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
And like the thing, I mean, this is live, so we got to be careful.
Yeah.
But the thing with live broadcasting is if you're on for 2 hours, chances are you're going to say at least one thing that's just so stupid. Like no matter how, in a scripted show, even if you're improvising, you're allowed to take it again.
Yeah.
And in
or just never use it.
Or never use it. And in broadcasting, what you say is what goes. So.
Yeah. And like I said in that one scene, you guys were just kind of saying like what comes to your mind, and so you're bound to say something that's inappropriate. Or
Yeah, we were emotional because we'd been abused by these high school kids, and so you have to be careful when you're doing live television not to let your emotions get away with you,
Right.
because you can say what like at Twitter is like, you better think before you hit send. You know, that kind of idea. Well, these guys don't have a filter.
Well, that got legitimately scary because some of our background in that locker room scene is an actual football team, like a junior college football team, who got so into
The scene?
The scene that they lost track of reality. And I was like, Chuck, I think these people are going to beat us up.
They're method acting.
Right? Yeah.
Totally.
Speaking of that scene, we'd love to show it.
Yeah.
For those of you guys who haven't seen the series, this comes early in the series, but I'd say this moment is kind of one of the major conflicts that drives the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So let's take a look for some context. Again, Tommy and Tug playing Tommy and Tug, former quarterbacks who are looking forward to an opportunity to kind of engage with youth, and it doesn't go quite like they had planned. So let's take a look.
And I think I can speak for Tug and myself in saying that even though Tug and I combined to play for over 25 seasons and one Pro Bowl, playing high school football was the time of our lives.
Makes sense.
It's funny, you guys in the improv group, really funny.
We're defending state champs. We should be giving you guys a pep talk.
Easy, fellas. That's enough.
Yeah, guys, I was actually a 4-time state champ, so I'm here to show you what's possible.
You mean we might get the chance to call a high school football game one day?
Yeah, Coach, can we get Mike Irvin back in?
Mike,
We all know
friend.
that. Good time. Mike's on my side.
These guys suck. These guys suck. These guys suck.
All right.
They're fine. I don't want to kill them.
That's good. Thanks, Zach. So we didn't want to show too much. One, for spoilers, and two, because for some reason sometimes if we show
don't
too
wanna
much
get
of copyright, we don't want to get flagged by YouTube. But there's
Speaking of
so
sports
much.
references.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
A flag
real nice.
on
Nice.
a flag on
that
play.
play.
Nice.
Can you guys talk about? I think this might have been personally my favorite episode in the series. Can you guys talk about your inspiration for like connecting with the high school? And sort of shooting that, what that was like, what it was like working with actual high school kids, and
You said it was were they junior college or?
Well, no, it was meant to be high school. Some of the background were
Yeah.
actually a junior college football team. But I think we've talked about this before, but that legacy is a big deal, to athletes, and I think their hope is they'll show up in that locker room and everyone will, bow down to them.
Yeah.
Half the room doesn't even know who they are. They were that bad. So I think they go into that volunteer to give the pep talk for this thing. No one invited them, and then they're so childish that once insulted, they turn on the kids. And the rest of that episode is them calling that game and being unable to.
Spoiler.
Well, right, we don't know. We won't tell how it ends. But they're complete jerks to the kids in a way that an announcer should not be. You should be relatively dispassionate, not take sides. But they end up rooting against the team that they had just tried to inspire.
And another thing that we took from our research, and we had a blast looking at YouTube clips of athletes turned broadcasters, but there was a Sports Illustrated article talking about this transition, and people were asking athletes who'd made it, like, how do I get in the game? How do I get into broadcasting? And the guy's like, do you have any tape? Do you have a reel? And he's like, no. He's like, you have to go call a game for free. He's like, for free?
Yeah.
Do you know who I am? I'm not calling nothing for free. So that idea kind of bled into this script. It was like, dealing with the ego again.
Right.
It's like, really? You want us to go call a high school game? Okay, maybe they will because they'll love us.
Right.
And they don't love us, then it's like, all right,
how much of that was written and how much was improvised in the booth?
A lot of that booth is improvised.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a sturdy script going into it. We didn't want to leave too much up to chance. But on the day, especially as that was shot late in the production schedule, so we were feeling pretty loose by that point, and it was also like 10 at night or something. And knowing that we wanted to have a lot of stuff to cut up to span the length of a game, I'd say that was probably 75% improvised.
What's interesting about that particular scene is that we were stuck in the booth away from everybody. So he and I would just improvise jokes, and there would be no laughter. So we didn't know if anything was. We thought everything was tanking.
And we can't see anything.
So the weird thing about single cam shooting is like some of these jokes, they might play for the crew or the director, but you sometimes just don't know until the edit. So
And we rolled for like 25 to 30 minutes on one angle, just pitching jokes and just making stuff up.
The director wanted to kill us. Yeah.
So I mean, we were happy that when they actually cobbled it together. A great editor, Joseph Edinger, put it together, and it was like, well, okay, thank God, there's some funny stuff in here. So it was.
We
it
were
was
actually
awesome.
wondering about that. Was there a lot of stuff that you guys just shot tons of different things and then just edited it down, or is that just for that scene?
That scene especially, there are a couple scenes in there, and a couple of the bumpers. We do some standalone little sketches at the top of some of these episodes.
That's where we
Polaroids
realized
kind of thing.
Trying to
Yeah.
learn how to use an earpiece
Yeah.
and stuff like that. A lot of that was improvisational. But as the cast grew for certain scenes, you want to keep it a little more tightly scripted, or else you can go off the rails pretty quickly. But I mean, back to something you brought up earlier, we were on a pretty tight schedule. We shot this thing in 9 days, the whole 70 minutes in 9 days. So we were wall to wall. But it enforces a certain discipline, and you show up knowing that you can't waste a minute, and I think that energy ends up on screen in a kind of cool way.
I think what is great. Hopefully, there's some people out there that are watching that are like, aspiring to be filmmakers and creators. I mean, this is a lot of DIY stuff, and we had some great team players. Great team, but and it's a small crew. We all came together to make something, and we realized, like, when the athletes came on, we didn't have that time to kind of give them, like we had to get them out in 90 minutes. Kurt Menefee came on, who's the broadcaster, the host of NFL on Sunday for Fox. He had to fly to Carolina for the championship game, and it was starting to snow. It was a blizzard. So they moved up his call time like 3 hours, and he had 90 minutes. So we didn't have time to really mess around with jokes. Luckily, he was off book. He was great. But it's like sort of window where, like, we just didn't have the time.
Well, a fun little nugget too, if you've just seen it. There's a scene in which he's on a on a flat screen in the classroom.
Right.
He's being telecast into the classroom. We had to shoot that because he was supposed to be there in person.
In the classroom.
And we were
Oh,
like,
wow.
we really need him in the scene,
Yeah.
and so kind of devised a way for that to work.
And we think it worked out better. It was just one of those lucky, happy accidents because it became funnier in a way.
It's the cool thing about a tight production schedule is it can actually force ideas that end up working. I don't know if you guys watch Parks and Rec at all.
Oh, yeah.
But Joe Biden was featured in, I think, season 6 with Leslie Knope. And for those who don't watch the show, Amy Poehler plays this like aspiring politician who is basically super sexually attracted to Joe Biden. And
Who isn't?
I know.
Honestly.
I think all 4 of us here are. But I think they had like 30 minutes to do that scene, and I think they said the energy and the pressure of your time constraint actually enhanced the performances. So.
Yeah, I think if you have too many resources, you can get kind of too lazy for your own good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, yeah, we thought the show was so much fun. I don't know if there's anything else about the show you want to...
Well, did you guys, so going into it when you guys were talking, did you know that you wanted it to be this like very short episodes?
You bring up a great point, and we should mention that this show airs on a new platform called Go90.
The show is brought to you by... I'm just kidding.
Well, it is.
Well, by among other things, Oscars. Again, Oscars.
There it is.
Oscar's Taco Shop, check it out.
Yeah, so where you can catch the show is on the platform of Verizon's new streaming platform called Go90. And it's great because it has a ton of great shows and sporting programs for people all across the demo board. It's got the show called Tagged for like this tween generation. It's like
Which is a drama, essentially.
essentially. It's doing great. Our show, some stuff Blake Griffin has made. Matt and Ben, that's what we call them. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
the show.
Everybody's men.
So it's one of those things where we're early in the infancy of this new platform, but we think it's the next thing.
Absolutely. And it's such a consumable piece of media.
Yeah.
Like, I think, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever you want to say about it, media is being pushed into more bite-sized, consumable
Yeah.
content. And there was something kind of beautiful about us just flying through this series. But still getting, what I loved about it was I feel like you guys really managed to balance the tone of kind of a conventional sitcom, but still this kind of sketch, almost like UCB inspired bite-sized stuff. It was really, I think we were both kind of like, this is really good.
It kind of became its own thing. I mean, to what you were saying, no, we designed it to be just a good show. And have characters that were rich enough and story that was rich enough that
And
it could
step
be
it up.
scaled up to a half hour and may be someday. But
Can I just piggyback on that really quickly? So one of the fun things about this new platform is that they kind of just said, they gave us the amount of time they wanted to see. So like they just want to see an hour of content. However you wanted to break that up, that was just up to you. So we decided to do this sort of long arc show with 7 episodes in it, which is really cool for creators out there. People are looking for places to pitch and put ideas. I mean, you should definitely look at Go 90 because they one of the things we'll say that they did really, really well was give us the freedom to make the show that we wanted to make. Like, this is our show.
And that's what new media does for you. I mean, I had come off of writing a couple of network pilots that a lot of cooks in the kitchen, you know, didn't get made, and you think you just want a show to find an audience. You know, you can only go so long before you feel that itch. They let us make the show we want to make, and also as we're getting to, we kind of snuck in a movie. I mean, it moves linear, you know, it moves in a serialized fashion. Each bite-sized chunk stands on its own, but one of our goals was to make something that if you were to sit down for 70, 80 minutes, however long it lasts, it'd be satisfying as a long-form piece as well.
Absolutely. I mean, and you guys did a great job giving your minor characters arcs. I mean, like, I think it was really cool to see this hybrid of sketch and narrative. I think it worked really, really well.
Oh,
so
cool.
I want to
Thanks,
applaud.
man.
Yeah, you guys should.
And
great.
Speaking of cast, we'd like to shout out to the cast. I won't name them all here, but these are all people that are working in television, and we called in a bunch of
We can probably name
favors,
them all
and
here.
they were so cool.
Yeah, because I know you had
You name them.
Fred on Casual.
Yeah, Fred's my dad.
So,
on
yeah.
Casual.
Fred Mellowman,
Yeah.
who everyone's seen in New Girl or on Casual or in a World, which is a great film,
Lake
or a
Bell,
Coen Brothers
I love that
film.
movie.
You know,
Yeah.
I covered Lady Dynamite here. I don't know if you guys watched that. Yeah.
Fred is so funny in Lady
Bruce Van
Dynamite.
Backrack,
Oh
one of my
God.
favorite characters I've seen this year. If any of you guys, I know Lady Dynamite probably not the most mainstream show, but I'd recommend it, especially if you're a fan of this show.
Yeah.
For those who are tuning in, it's the same kind of sort of neurotic,
Weird and wild.
weird
and
and
funny,
wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
he's one of the greatest guys. I mean, he's just see what we did. Another thing for the aspiring filmmakers out there, like before we sold this, we made a like a basic pilot or a proof of concept.
That's a good point. We shot a couple days.
We shot a couple
Nice.
days, and we just because when we were pitching it out, we wanted to get the tone right. We wanted to show people like this is our tone. Like it's a little bit dry, you know, it can be absurd at times, but this is what we like to do.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know Fred. We knew Fred through some friends, and he I don't think he quite knew what he was getting into. But you know,
Yeah, 'cause
kudos to him.
No.
He drove an hour down to Orange, California, to do it with us for the weekend, and he was sort of like, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" But you know, he's just the best. He's the best.
Definitely a pro. And like you always hope that, you know, the actors you like, you kind of have a vision for what you think they would be like in real life. And
Yeah.
I've always thought and hoped that Fred Mellowman would be kind of like a nice guy, like a bit of a teddy bear or something. And it seems like, I mean, he's a pro for sure. Yeah, it was
He
fun to
plays
see.
such a dick in Casual.
plays-
that you'd be surprised how kind he is.
Yeah.
With him, that "never meet your heroes" adage does not hold up. He's someone you want to meet and get to
Malcolm
know.
Barrett's on the show, who people know from Timeless right now.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job on the show. Kevin Bigley, who was on Sirens for a couple years on USA.
My girl Molly Ephraim, who does
Last Man Standing.
Last Man Standing.
So there's just a ton of great people who've all worked in TV before, people whose faces we all recognize. And it was really fun to get them to be a part of this project. It feels small, but we feel like it's the future in some way. We feel like before too long, you're going to see more and more of these shows that are, like we said, there's 7 episodes of about 7 to 10, 11 minutes each. And if you put them all together, it runs to about 70 minutes. So if you're like waiting for a train or,
Yeah.
you know, planes delayed or
People all over this country
you've
waiting
been-
on a train, am I right?
Yeah, all the time. That's my main form of transportation.
maybe even grounded. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know.
Another thing I'm interested in is, since you guys wrote it, how did you decide like who was gonna play which character?
Come
or
on.
did you just know?
I know the characters are named Tom, Tommy, and Tug.
Yeah.
How did you decide which character would play
Like-
which role?
It's funny, we shot a day inverted, and
I
it just
thought-
did not work.
It didn't work as well.
feel
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
You can't be under 6'5" and named Tug.
No, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where we kind of just wanted to play things that were things that we played before that feel familiar and good to us, but weren't quite the things that we played on previous shows, whether it be Casual or the Mini Project when I did The Office or How I Met Your Mother, things like that. You know, it was just, since we got to write things, let's like write things that we wanted to play, that we're excited to play. And that's another great thing about being in control. I mean, for any actors out there, like there's nothing more rewarding than putting a project together and seeing it all the way through. I mean, Tommy can talk about this as a person who's written in the past, but it never got the chance to be made. We really just wanted to go to a place where we could see it, our vision fulfilled. It's really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
So.
So speaking of, do you know if there's a season 2 for this show? Have you guys heard anything about the future of Now We're Talking?
It's looking pretty good. I mean, it's. I think it's going to come down to just logistics and scheduling and stuff like that. But
of course, if you can shoot 70 minutes in 9 days, that's pretty for any production people. That's pretty outstanding.
Yeah, I think we'd want to make a little more, create an economy of scale where we could make a few more episodes when we do put the production team back together. But we've got a sense of what the season 2 would look like. They've asked for that information, and we'll see.
Well, we're inspired by people who work in the comedy space that have made shows for themselves. I mean, like you look at and it came from like.
I almost mentioned Broad City because they had Blake Griffin cameo in season 3. I covered that show here. It's
He's a funny dude.
Oh my gosh!
And Broad City is one of the great shows, and it started on YouTube. And I just admire people that are out there making things, and it gets an audience. And you look at Workaholics, which did that, or Drunk History, or Broad City, or the list
original
goes on.
Always Sunny was original.
Always Sunny, a couple episodes on YouTube. So it's really, really cool. I mean, who knows where this will go? But we get excited when people say they're not the biggest sports fans, but they still found a way into the show and really enjoy it.
Well, that's me. I'm a comedy nerd, like all the shows you guys are talking about, and it feels like that's the direction of comedy. Is intimately, specifically created shows. I think the problem we're seeing with comedy a little bit is when the network gets involved and the show becomes, in trying to make a show for everyone, sometimes you're actually making a show for no one. Yeah. So
I think it's exactly right. Yeah.
So for fans of a show like Broad City or Always Sunny or The League, it's the same kind of specific, tonally driven, I loved it.
Specificity of tone, I think, is the most important thing.
Especially in comedy,
I mean, we do it on Casual, but it's a totally different kind of show.
Right.
But it's specific. It's one voice. And whether that's your voice or not, it draws you to the show. And then, whatever the sort of quirky thing that came out of our collaboration, we were allowed to keep it and without it being watered down and turned into kind of vanilla mush.
Yeah. In regards to the being like a sports fan thing, that's what I was thinking, that you guys did such a good job, because having those like professional athletes, for people who really love sports, I think that's probably an extra thing for them and really cool for them to see. And then us who are like sports fans but not like hardcore, we still enjoyed it too because of the comedy aspect.
Yeah, there's a couple deep dive jokes that we felt like we'd throw out to the sports junkies. But we felt we'd crafted them in a way that my mom would get them or something.
Well, and then you also had these weird like one-offs, like
the pop culture references.
Like I need to narrow your back was the one.
Yeah.
Like,
I had to do that in college.
Did you really?
That actually happened. My roommate asked me to do that.
I noticed the one I really noticed was that you have AM presets, like just like random. Like,
I'm so glad you got there.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yeah, like there were just so many references that were very subtle and just like one-liners that I think are so relatable to everyone.
That means the world to me.
It really does.
Picked up on AM presets.
We do our research, you guys.
Well, that's part of the fun is we do a lot of jokes, and we are a drier sensibility at times, but when you get those little jokes like that, it makes a fun hour or 70 minutes of rewatchability. Like you kind of get, I didn't hear that joke the first time.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
I think to stand out from this, the massive amount of scripted entertainment out there, you've got to be thorough in that way. There's got to be jokes on every level. Characters have to be rich. I don't care where you're putting the show up. People are going to give up really quick.
Yeah, that's another thing we said about how we liked like how it's the shorter episodes, is because there was no like filler time. There was no like space where you guys were just, you know what I mean? Because sometimes with these like 30-minute comedies, there's times where that aren't as funny. This was like consistently.
It's a true comedy. The joke to time ratio was very high.
Yeah,
which is what comedy fans are looking for.
And you bring up a good point, because I think because our tone is like, we want it to feel tight in the episode, but we also want things to be able to breathe.
It was loose.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a looseness to it. Like when in the very first episode when he's like showing off his car and he's doing the honking of the lights, and it's like, okay, it's enough. That's enough. Like we want to make sure that joke had time to breathe.
There was a cut of that. It was about 3 times as long. Also.
Yeah, did you guys
I thought there would be one more.
We
as you guys were
fell in
walking
love
away.
with it, and then somebody finally was like, okay, enough already.
Did you guys have a say in the edit?
Oh yeah,
100%.
Nice.
We were Tug. I had to go back to work on Casual, which was a lie. I just didn't want to. No, I went back to work pretty quickly, like literally
the next week.
The next week after we finished shooting, Tug jumped right into the edit bay and was there every day. And then on my days off, I would come in. So one of us was in editing every single day.
Nice.
And that's. You learn so much about filmmaking, editing, and it's really where the humor lands. I mean, it's all in the timing, as I say. So
yeah, so I would be in the editing bay, and I would call Tommy, and it would be a break or turnaround at Casual. I would say like,
and I'd be naked.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, here's the cut. Watch it. Let's talk about it. Get notes and bang it back around. It was just one of those things where you just got to make it work.
I'm putting on my modesty pouch right now. Can you call back?
The modesty pouch.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I don't know. Do you have anything else?
I'm trying to think. I'll probably have something like right when we
know.
stop.
Well, we'll call us.
Give you a ring.
We'll pick up.
Well, we want to hear about, aside from hopefully another season of this that I know I would be tuning into. Tommy, you're doing casual, but what else for both of you guys?
I just wrapped up a long arc on Code Black.
Oh, nice.
CBS's Code Black. Got my doctor on for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm Greg Garcia, who did My Name is Earl, is doing this really cool dark comedy anthology series called The Guest Book. That'll be out on TBS in
TBS is also killing it, I gotta say. Did you guys see Search Party at all?
no, but everyone's telling me that
It's
should be
good
next
and
on my
weird,
list.
but good.
Yeah.
And like Angie Tribeca, I don't know if you've seen that. But
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Hayes is a buddy of ours. The that will be out in February. And what else? Tracy Wigfield, who was won an Emmy for her work on 30 Rock, created a show called Great News for NBC. Also will be a mid-season release. Just finished one of those. So I've been a busy boy, but looking forward to get back to my home show. I mean, I love doing casual. Shout out to all the casual fans that have kept us coming back. Digging into season 3 on that in January.
I'm currently running Tommy's social media and
His Facebook. Oh no, wait.
looking at my residual tracker.
He did such a good job with my car wash this morning. Thinking about giving him a raise.
Yeah, one of the things I mean, in addition to I've worked on a lot of shows in the past couple of years, I just got the bug for producing and writing. I mean, Tommy, I learned a lot from Tommy, having him.
Just about life. Really.
Yeah, just about life. I just sit down. It's like campfire stories.
I feel like I'm just watching the show again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm just editing it.
We've heard that before.
That was really fun for me to put something together. I'm like, we have some other ideas that we're putting together for development.
I have to give Tug. Tug's very modest. He and his wife run this fantastic restaurant and wine bar and wine shop called Esther's on the west side of Los Angeles and Santa Monica.
I love wine.
Come on over to the west side.
need
You're
to
always
check it
welcome.
out.
I live
yeah,
over
you love
there,
it.
so
Yeah.
And it's no joke. Food and wine right up, New York Times. I mean,
And also
they're
dealing
doing-
with a 6-month-old
congratulations,
baby,
man.
baby boy. So that's been a lot of fun. But I just really like actors kind of get pigeonholed into like waiting for people to tell them when they can do stuff.
Right.
For all of us actors out there, but like. I just believe that you shouldn't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. I just like to do a bunch of things, and Tommy's the same way. We just like to like be active and empower ourselves, and whether it's things outside of entertainment or involves wine or just developing shows, like it's something that we just want to be a part
I
of.
have a succulent garden now.
nice.
Yeah, I do.
That takes hard work, doesn't it? They need a
Probably
lot
the
of water.
peak
Once a
of
year.
everything you've done,
simple.
working for Jason Reitman. I think the succulent garden's probably the peak of your career so far.
It is at the top of my resume.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we can't thank you enough.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah, it was great. For those, again, you can find this on Go90. For you AfterBuzz fans out there, you might know Nick Grava, who's actually on relationship status on Go90.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So he's a host here. So yeah, I'm excited to see this platform grow because I'm sure it will.
It's going to grow a lot next year. So you can you can get the app. It's a free app.
It's free. Please know that
we
it's
say this a
free.
lot. It's free. It doesn't go against your data. You can watch tons of shows and sports. You can also go to go90.com to check it out. I mean, it's grown a lot in the past year. I can't wait to see what it looks like in another year.
Yeah, you don't really have an excuse not to watch this show because I feel like I'm pretty dumb and I found it so easily. Like it was like we just found it. So definitely check that out. For those of you who are watching, thanks for tuning in. For those of you who are listening, you can find us online as well at AfterBuzzTV.com. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeff Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. For those who are interested in watching my after show coverage, I covered The Good Place here, NBC show with Kristen Bell, and Broad City's coming back soon, so you can catch me there. Abby.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at _Abby Vega. That's all.
Tug and Tommy.
Twitter and Instagram at Tommy Dewey Says.
Instagram and Twitter at Tug Coker.
Guys, thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.